I was born and raised in a suburb of Massachusetts in a middle-class environment. My dad had gone into the Navy during World War II, and there's Ozzie and Harriet and Father Knows Best were two of the popular shows on TV, which bore absolutely no resemblance to the reality that we were all experiencing. So we went to church on Sunday. I got dressed up like a little man with a suit and a bow tie and a hat. My sisters all had white gloves and pretty hats and matching outfits that my mother made for her, and there was this whole parade of going to church and being all dressed up, and we all sat there like the ideal American family. And then church would get over and we'd get into the car. Then they'd be yelling and screaming and slapping and hitting and crying, and and church seemed like this ideal that was far removed from the reality. It was beginning to be real disillusioned with the church because of the difference between the ideals of the church and what I soon came to identify as the hypocrisy of the church and the reality of what people really lived and did. And so I, along with tens of millions of people my age, became disillusioned with America, the government, society, church, and everything else, and went our own ways. With the death of John Kennedy in '63, and then the subsequent death of Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy, it seemed like what we needed to do was to build an alternative society. So my wife and I got married in '65, and we went out to San Francisco in '66, lived out there. And we believed that we were creating a new society. We believed we were, quote, realists. And part of that realism was we didn't believe in supernatural things. We didn't believe in religion. We didn't believe in God. What I wanted to do was to be an artist and an art teacher, so I finished my graduate studies at the University of California, Berkeley. Did a year in New Mexico on a grant, which was wonderful. I love New Mexico. And then got an offer to be part of starting an art program at a university in Kentucky, at a school that had just started, and that seemed like a real sort of pioneering thing, because I imagined Kentucky was like log cabins and horse farms and things like that. To my great surprise, there weren't any log cabins or horse farms in the area that I moved into, but became a careerist, a hedonist, a careerist, a materialist. And in our society then, and I don't think it's changed much today, the real philosophy of our society, the real religion, if you will, of our society, is rugged individualism. And I was a part of it. And I wanted to be a successful part of it, and that was my life. To the neglect of everybody and everything. Because part of being a successful artist is to be driven, and anything that distracts you from the pursuit of excellence in your art must be cast away, including family, including friends. I mean, everything has to be focused on success. I used to think that there was somehow, there was a place in the core of my being, like in my heart, where there was something terribly missing. There was just nothing there at all. So the way that I tried to anesthetize myself from the pain that caused was with alcohol and busyness and success and power and pleasure and stuff like that. In 1985, I took a group of students along with my wife on an art tour. Last day of the trip, the next day we would be leaving. We were going to drive back to Schiphol and Amsterdam and fly out. And they were all still getting up and getting ready, and we were in my room, and I was talking to one of my students, Monica Schoner. My wife was there, and I was saying, like, can you go get, the people ready? Like, this is our last day. Like, let's get going here. And this was at 11 o'clock, so they were being real lazy about getting going. They're just pooped, worn out. And I was talking to her, and in the middle of a sentence, I just collapsed down to the ground. What I thought had happened was I thought I had been shot. And I was very surprised that I couldn't see where the bullet had come through, because I knew they would make a hole in the glass, obviously. The pain was in the very center of my abdomen, pretty much, and it was inside, not on the outside. This doctor got me up off the floor and onto the bed, and he examined me. He knew exactly what was wrong. He said, "You've perforated your duodenum." He said that I would be taken to a hospital and that I would have surgery right away. I'd be in the hospital for about 4 weeks. Then I would be able to get on a plane and go home. Taken up to the 3rd floor of that hospital. The ride actually turned out to be very painful, because I was in kind of bad shape by the time we got to Cochin. We were expecting immediately to be going to surgery. And that's what we'd been told by the doctor at the hotel, the 2 doctors in the emergency room. After several hours, the pain had gotten excruciating. For several hours now, I felt that the only thing that kept me from death was an intense desire to live. And that all as I had to do to die was to stop trying to live. I felt like death was right there. It's hard to describe it. Just imagine that, like, you're hanging over a pit by your fingers, hanging onto the edge, and all you have to do is let go, and you're in the pit. That's how I felt about me and death. And I closed my eyes. I didn't try and breathe anymore. And I went unconscious. I awoke from my unconsciousness. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know how long I was unconscious. It was some minutes, probably. And I was standing next to the bed, and I was absolutely clear about the situation that I was in. So I was worried about the perforation in my stomach, but it didn't hurt. I was worried about getting an operation, but right now I didn't need an operation. I was confused because I felt more real, more alive, more physically acute in all 5 senses than I'd ever felt my whole life. Then, right then, I heard people calling me by name in English outside the room, and they were saying, "Howard, hurry up, come with us quickly, let's go." So the room was very bright and well lit, and I went over to the doorway of the room, and outside the room, it was wasn't dark, but it was dim and gray and foggy and indistinct. I assumed that they were there to take me to my surgery, so I left the room. One of the strange things was, when I left the room, I knew that it was a one-way door. But after walking for what in this world would be like an hour or 2, I came to the realization that this isn't right. There's something really wrong here, because there's no way this hallway would be this big. And now the hallway wasn't a hallway anymore. It was just space that we were walking through. And there were no walls or ceiling or windows or stairs or anything. It was just we were walking in space. When I would ask them questions, usually the answer was, "Shut up. We don't have time. You'll find out. Don't ask questions. Be quiet." There's more and more people, and it's gone from dim to just plain dark, absence of light. People have gotten really rude now. People are talking about me, and when I would say, like, "Are you talking about me?" they'd just like hush up or